Okay, well, first, I apologize for no video last week. It's been a couple weeks since we've done one, and I don't really have an excuse. Well, I guess I do have an excuse. Thinking a lot, doing a lot, so some changes. Snow! This is not overexposed. This is, well, actually, yeah, in the back there, the snow is just so bright and wet, and it is beautiful. It's cold, and is a definite sign that planting and harvesting season is coming to an end. You can see the wheelbarrow there in the background. Sorry, that's my phone case. Wheelbarrow there in the background that got snowed over. So, some updates on the garden. And well, everything actually. Last week, I took up employment at a local hardware store, so that's been educational and fun and good people to work with. I do not have any previous experience in hardware, either personally or business. So it's been a huge learning curve, but I'm enjoying it. The garden, not much is left. We harvested all the squash and tomatoes from back there. The beans we have left to go to seed. We probably need to collect those pretty soon. Man, it's cold out here. There's a nice breeze that we get in this part of the property pretty much all day, every day since we moved here, which means that my hands are freezing. So there's the beans. There's some more beans. Basically anywhere you see sticks sticking up is beans. Lots of beans. We need more beans next year. So plans for next year. Bigger garden. Because the soil is not good quality enough yet for us to grow multiple types of produce in the same bed, which we do intend to do eventually, we need more space. Plus, we can't really grow too much food that we see as part of our stewardship. The more food we have, the more food that we can eat on our own rather than having to go to the grocery store. And the more food we can basically first grow enough food that we don't have to buy any more food ever. Then grow enough food that we can give or trade to our neighbors and other people in the area. Then just grow things that we wouldn't necessarily eat, but that our animals can eat, so we don't have to buy feed. And we can also control the quality of what our animals eat. So that's the plan for next year. And with that in mind, we've been planting cover crops, which I think I showed a little bit ago. If you remember or saw the video on my planting oats and field peas, these are them. There's the oats. Let's see if we can get in there. There's the oats, and there's the field peas. Now, these will not survive the winter. This first frost, first snow probably will not kill them, but the hard frost, which we should be getting in 2 to 4 weeks, will kill them. But the oat silage, which is the rotting bits of oat, will improve the ground and keep weeds down. The peas fix nitrogen because they're a legume, so their roots are good for the soil. The next bit that I planted was wheat, a winter wheat. Wheat is an interesting plant. So you can grow it 2 times a year. You plant it in the spring, and then, I don't remember when you harvest it, somewhere like fall. And then you take those and basically you can just plant them again. And what will happen, right, basically as soon as you harvest them. So you plant them in fall, and they will grow up through winter, but then kind of go dormant, not through winter. Rye does that. I'm planting rye now. But, so yeah, the wheat will grow a little bit, and then go dormant during the hard frost, and then early spring, it will come up again and you harvest it. I don't know if you harvest it in spring or summer. That's not really my concern. I just want something to keep the ground good. So there's the wheat coming up there. Now, another thing that I want to show you is why we put the mulch or the grass on where we planted. And here's partly why. So you can see there's a bed where we planted wheat. No, that's actually rye. We planted rye there and covered it with grass. Watered it, covered it with grass, and there's snow there. Now, look at that. That is where we have not planted anything. Oh, let me switch hands. My hand is freezing again. Hold on. There we go. That is where we have not planted anything and did not put grass on. There is no snow there. Why? Because the soil is losing heat. It has melted the snow that fell on it last night. This soil is not losing heat. Not as much, because we have the grass on it. Now, if it does not lose heat, that means it will not lose moisture. So this is going to be drier than that. Now, what I'm going to do is pull up the weeds in here. Yes, even though it is freezing. If it gets too cold, I will get gloves on. It may take a little longer. I might have to do that over the course of a couple of days. But, so yeah, that's partly why. Yeah, so, cover those, did all that. Let's see. The videos will probably be transitioning to more of what we will be doing, much less in the garden, much less foraging. There's not much to forage. I'm going to look at what nut trees we have, hickory and walnut and oak. I know you can use acorns. You have to like boil them or something. The persimmons are coming to an end. There's not a whole lot of fruit to harvest because the deer and the birds have gotten it all. Plus that's not really our concern right now. More woodworking. We have a lumber mill up and running. We have a couple projects working on for that. Gonna keep you informed about the chickens because we still have those and intend to keep those for many years to come, hopefully. And probably a lot more cooking because we will be doing a lot more of that. I mean, we make all of our food ourselves anyway. Not all. We aren't making bread yet. We still buy bread, but that will eventually change. So yeah, just that's an update on what to expect coming up. One thing that I have been thinking about, and I will try, changing hands again because it is cold. One thing I've been thinking about, I will try to keep it brief. Something that Christians do not often talk about, the church does not often talk about, except in very broad terms, very broad political terms, is the concept of work. We tend to think of work in terms of 9-to-5 job. You look in the Bible, and yes, 9-to-5 job. Well, the concept of a 9-to-5 job is not really in there because they didn't. That comes from factory work, and of course they didn't have factories, so that concept is really only like a couple hundred years old. But the concept of work is not restricted to the idea of you do what you're told for a certain number of hours for somebody else, and then you go home and you're free to do whatever you want. The first mention of work is God working. God made all things in 6 days, and on the 7th, he rested from his work. So God works. That is huge. Obviously, God does not work for anybody, yet the act of creating a good thing is what the Bible calls work. Then when he makes man, he put man in the garden that God himself had planted, the Garden of Eden. Well, technically in the east of Eden, I think. I'll have to look at that passage again. Where was the garden? I don't remember. Anyway, the garden that God planted, he put man, after he made man, in the garden to work it and take care of it. That is a lot of what I mean when I talk about stewardship. The concept of work and caring for the physical existence that surrounds your physical existence, this body, that is work. That is good. That is what we were made to do. Work is not something you do because you have to, even though many times you do have to. Work is not something that you do for somebody else, although sometimes you do it for somebody else. Many of us, including me, do it for somebody else. Work is something you do because you were made in the image of God. Let me break it down for you a little further. God made man, right? Man belongs to God. If you plant a tree, the tree belongs to you. If you make a basket or a computer or a stuffed animal or a piece of clothing or whatever, it belongs to you. I do not know of anybody who would dispute the idea that if you make something, that thing belongs to you. God made you, therefore you belong to God. God also made all of the physical things that you use. He also made all of the kind of metaphysical things that you use every day, like your time. God made time, therefore your time belongs to Him. God made energy, therefore your energy belongs to Him. God made words. He spoke things into existence. Oh, by the way, this is a hori-hori. So if I stick some dirt-covered blade up here, that's what that is. Using that to pull up the weeds because they're not coming up by the roots. So gotta dig them out. Anyway, your time, your labor, your energy, your desires, if you're a Christian, even if you're not a Christian, but if you're not a Christian, I'm not talking to you because you don't follow Christ. So, you know, I can't, you're not part of the family. I can't expect you to follow our Father's will if you don't acknowledge Him as your Father. So if you are not a Christian, and this doesn't make sense, that's okay. It is okay. But if you're a Christian, you follow Christ, you acknowledge His leadership. Your time, your labor, your desires, your energies, your work belongs to Him. Work does not stop when you leave your place of employment. Work does not mean you make money. Work is your entire life. Work and play and talk and personal relations and eating and going to the bathroom and thought and recreation, all of your life belongs to God, and if you use it for Him, you're doing what you're supposed to do. So the concept of free time is really not appropriate for the Christian. There's no such thing as time for yourself. Now, there is time to care for the body that God has given you. There is time to relax because even God rested. But there is never a time for the Christian to have for myself. I do not exist for myself. I belong to Christ. As I have thought about that more, as I have understood that better, I won't say that it's easy, but it has given me things that I have never had. It has given me peace. I am not exactly a peaceful individual. It has given me joy. Joy I have never had. Joy. But bringing that aspect of my existence under submission to the rule of Christ has freed me from the pride and selfishness and worry and anxiety and stress that I have had, that I believe many people have, of serving their own interests. And I won't say that it's perfectly done yet, and I realize that I really went off the deep end there. But that's important, and I've thought about it a lot, and it has helped me, and I believe that it will help us turn this twisted world, which we have broken by our sin, into a better shadow of the world to come. So, with all that said, we will see you next week. And who knows? Cooking video, woodworking, more cover crop. We'll see.